Have you ever snapped at someone you love over something tiny, like they forgot to take out the trash, and suddenly you're seeing red? Or maybe you've been on the receiving end, wondering where all that fury came from. We often think of anger as this big, scary, destructive force. But what if I told you that most of the time, anger isn't the real story? What if it's just a mask, a disguise for something much deeper, much more vulnerable? Stick around, because today we're repeeling back that mask and exploring what your anger is really trying to tell you. Let's be honest, getting angry can feel powerful. In a world where we're often told to be strong and keep it together, anger can feel like a shield. It's active, it's loud, and it demands attention. It's so much easier to shout, "I'm so mad you're late," than it is to say, "I was really scared something had happened to you, and I felt so alone waiting here." See the difference? One is a fortress. The other is an open door. And for many of us, vulnerability feels terrifying. It feels like weakness, so we default to anger. Type the emotional equivalent of a guard dog. It barks and growls to keep everyone and everything at a distance from the soft, sensitive parts of ourselves we're desperate to protect. This happens for a reason. Think back to when you were a kid. When you cried, were you told to stop being a baby? When you were scared, were you told to toughen up? We learn from a very young age which emotions are acceptable and which ones get shut down. Sadness, fear, shame, and disappointment are often on the not allowed list, but anger often gets a pass. Can be seen as a sign of strength or passion. So, over time, our emotional system learns to reroute. So all those uncomfortable, vulnerable feelings get funneled into the one safe pipeline, anger. It becomes our go-to emotion, not because we're inherently angry people, but because it's the only emotion we are allowed to express without judgment. Let's break down some of the usual suspects hiding behind anger. The first big one is fear. Fear and anxiety are incredibly unsettling feelings. When we feel a lack of control, whether it's about our finances, our health, or our future, it's terrifying. Instead of sitting with that gut-wrenching fear, it's much easier to get angry at the stock market, the healthcare system, or even just the universe. Anger gives us a target. It makes us feel like we can fight back against the overwhelming unknown. Even if it's just by yelling at the TV. If you find yourself blowing up over small uncertainties, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of right now? Another major emotion hiding in plain sight is sadness and grief. Losing someone or something important is devastating. The emptiness and pain can feel bottomless. And guess what? That is incredibly vulnerable. So, instead of crying, we might find ourselves irritable and short-tempered with everyone around us. We might get angry at the doctors, angry at the person who left, angry at the world for being so unfair. This anger is a protective layer, shielding our broken heart from more pain. It's a way of processing loss without having to fully submerge ourselves in the depths of sorrow. Grief is a long, complicated journey, and anger is often one of its most common and misunderstood stages. Then there's shame and embarrassment. Nobody likes to feel foolish or inadequate. Imagine you make a mistake at work and your boss calls you out in a meeting. The hot flush of shame is immediate and intense. But admitting I feel so embarrassed and incompetent is incredibly hard. It's much easier to storm away thinking, my boss is such a jerk. Who do they think they are? Anger deflects the spotlight from our perceived failure and shines it onto someone else. It's a defense mechanism that protects our fragile ego. If your anger flares up when you feel criticized or exposed, take a moment. Is it really about the other person, or is it about the shame you're feeling? Hurt and disappointment are also huge triggers. When someone we trust betrays us, or when our hopes are dashed, it stings. It's a deep, personal pain. Saying you really hurt my feelings requires opening yourself up to the possibility of being hurt again. It's a raw and vulnerable admission, but lashing out in anger. I can't believe you did that. How could you be so stupid? Puts a wall up, transforms the pain into an attack, making you the powerful one in the exchange, not the wounded one. This is especially common in our closest relationships, where the stakes are highest and the potential for hurt is greatest. So, how do we start to unravel this? How do we stop letting the guard dog run the show? The first step is awareness. It's about becoming an emotional detective in your own life. The next time you feel that familiar heat of anger rising, don't just react. Pause. Take a deep breath. Yes, I know it sounds cliché, but it works. That simple pause creates a space between the trigger and your response. And in that space, you can ask yourself a powerful question. What am I really feeling right now? Try to name the underlying emotion. Is it fear, sadness, shame, hurt? Let yourself be honest, even if it's uncomfortable. You can even use a simple technique called the anger iceberg. Picture an iceberg. The tip that's visible above the water is your anger. But the massive, hidden part of the iceberg beneath the surface holds all the other feelings. Your job is to dive down and see what's really there. Is there a chunk of disappointment? A layer of anxiety? A deep core of grief? Just identifying these feelings is a huge step. You don't have to fix them right away. Just acknowledge their presence. Once you start to identify the real emotions, you can begin to express them in a healthier way. This is where communication becomes key. Instead of leading with an accusation, try using I statements. Instead of "you're always so inconsiderate," try "I felt really hurt and unimportant when our plans were forgotten." This isn't about blaming or accusing. It's about owning your feelings and sharing your experience. It invites empathy, not defensiveness. It opens the door for a real conversation rather than a shouting match. This takes practice, and it will feel awkward and vulnerable at first, but it's how we build stronger, more honest connections. It's also crucial to remember that this work isn't just about how you express your emotions to others. It's about how you treat yourself. It's about giving yourself permission to feel all of your feelings, not just the acceptable ones. Allow yourself to be sad. Allow yourself to be scared. Allow yourself to be disappointed. These emotions aren't weaknesses. They are part of the human experience. They are signals from your heart and your gut, telling you what you need. Listening to them is a profound act of self-compassion. This isn't about never feeling angry again. Anger is a valid and sometimes necessary emotion. It can alert us to injustice and signal that a boundary has been crossed. The goal is not to eliminate anger, but to understand it. It's to make anger a source of information, not just a source of destruction. When you understand what's fueling your anger, you can address the root cause. If it's fear, you can seek security. If it's hurt, you can seek healing. If it's shame, you can practice self-forgiveness. Your anger becomes a compass, pointing you toward the part of you that needs attention and care. So the next time you feel that flash of rage, I challenge you to pause and look beneath the surface. Ask yourself what your anger is trying to protect. It's a cry for help from a more vulnerable part of you. By learning to listen to it, you're not just managing your anger. You're starting a journey toward becoming a more whole, emotionally honest, and compassionate person, both to others and, most importantly, to yourself. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content on emotional well-being. Share your own experiences with anger in the comments below. Let's learn from each other. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.